The ballroom shimmered with crystal chandeliers and polished silverware. My parents had spent months preparing for their 30th wedding anniversary celebration, inviting relatives, business associates, and old family friends. Nearly 100 guests filled the hall, laughing and chatting while waiters moved between tables carrying expensive meals. I sat quietly at table 11, exactly where my parents had placed me, far from the main stage, far from the important guests. Throughout the evening, my father repeated the same story to anyone willing to listen. "This is our oldest child," he would say, pointing toward me. Unfortunately, not everyone in the family turns out successful. The guests usually laughed awkwardly. My mother made it worse. "Our younger daughter became a lawyer. Our son owns 3 companies. But this one," she would shake her head dramatically, always disappointing us. Each comment landed like a stone. For years, I had endured their comparisons. I wasn't wealthy. I didn't drive a luxury car. I worked as a teacher at a public school, helping children from struggling families. To my parents, that made me a failure. The humiliation continued through dinner. At one point, an aunt asked what I had accomplished lately. Before I could answer, my father spoke first. "Nothing worth mentioning." Several guests chuckled. I stared at my plate and counted the minutes until the evening would end. Then something unexpected happened. An elderly man entered the ballroom. He wasn't on the guest list I recognized. He wore a simple navy suit and walked with a cane. Despite his age, he carried himself with quiet confidence. The event manager hurried over and escorted him directly to table 11. He sat across from me and smiled. "Mind if I join you?" "Of course not," I replied. For a while, he simply listened. He heard my parents mock me from across the room. He heard relatives repeat their jokes. He watched the entire performance. Eventually, the master of ceremonies invited guests to share memories about the couple. One by one, people stepped forward. Then the elderly stranger slowly rose from his chair. The room fell silent. "Good evening," he said into the microphone. "I realize most of you don't know me." Everyone exchanged confused looks. "My name is Richard Lawson." The reaction was immediate. Several business owners gasped. My father's face lost color. Richard Lawson was one of the region's most respected philanthropists, known for funding hospitals, scholarships, and community programs. "What brings me here tonight," he continued, "is the young person sitting at table 11. Every eye turned toward me. I wanted to disappear. 3 years ago," Richard explained, "my granddaughter had been struggling in school after losing her parents in a car accident. She had withdrawn from everyone and nearly dropped out. One teacher refused to give up on her. He said that teacher spent evenings tutoring her for free, bought books with personal money, encouraged her when no one else could." My stomach tightened. I knew where this was going. "That teacher is sitting right there." The room became completely silent. Richard pointed toward me. "My granddaughter graduated at the top of her class last month. She earned a full university scholarship." Guests stared in disbelief. Richard's voice grew stronger. "For years, I've watched this person change lives without asking for recognition." He paused. "Tonight, I listened as family members called this teacher a disappointment." The silence became uncomfortable. I've met CEOs, politicians, and millionaires. But very few people dedicate their lives to helping children who have nothing. He looked directly at my parents. "If this is your disappointment, I would hate to see your definition of success." Several guests lowered their eyes. Others nodded quietly. My parents seemed frozen. Richard wasn't finished. "Success isn't measured by luxury cars, expensive houses, or business titles. It's measured by the lives you improve." He returned the microphone. The room erupted into applause, not polite applause. Real applause. People stood. Some wiped tears from their eyes. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the family joke. I wasn't the disappointment. I was simply someone who had spent years doing meaningful work. As guests approached to congratulate me, my parents remained speechless. Nothing dramatic happened afterward. There were no grand apologies. But something had changed. The story my parents had told about me for years had finally met the truth. And the truth came from a stranger at table 11. The funny thing was that Richard's words didn't make me feel important because everyone suddenly respected me. They mattered because they reminded me of something I had forgotten. I never needed my parents' definition of success. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever been made to feel small by the people who should have celebrated you, hit that subscribe button. These are stories about being seen, about the quiet power of meaningful work, and about the moment when a stranger reminds you of your worth. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next 1.1.